You're about to discover the secret sales technique that top performers use to crush their sales targets. My name is Yuri Ogwigwe. I've trained over 23,000 salespeople across 5 countries: Nigeria, Ghana, USA, UAE, Rwanda. I'm an author of several books and resources on sales. I've been featured on a lot of media platforms to talk about successful selling. I worked at an organization where I was given a target to sell to 20 high net worth individuals. I was able to bring in 21 high net worth individuals in a single month. I also participated in a sales competition where I was given it, where I won the competition, and I was sent for the World Cup for an all-expense paid trip. I also moved to another organization where I was able to grow a portfolio of $3.5 million to over $7 million in just 11 months. I'm a business consultant specialized in Salesforce management. So in this video, I'm going to show you this secret sales technique that top performers have used to crush their sales targets. Ladies and gentlemen, you see, selling for a lot of people is product pushing. They believe that the person who can sell properly is the person who can talk the most. The person who can sell properly is the person who, when the person talks, we say things like, wow, sweet mouth, wow, gift of gab. No. I was in a conference many years ago where they awarded the top selling salesperson. And when the top selling salesperson came forward, ladies and gentlemen, to my surprise, he was a stammerer. He could barely speak. Not trying to mimic, but he sounded like, he could barely speak. But top selling salesperson for that organization. It was so touching that at some point, people started coming forward to even give him money again. Give him money, apart from the gifts that were won in that competition. My point is, selling is not talking. The top performers know that it is not your explanation that made it possible. Ladies and gentlemen, there's something about, pitching, selling, they may not really be the same. If somebody says, pitch to me why I should do business with you, maybe you're three of you, he's trying to choose a vendor, and he says, pitch to me why I should do business with you. The pitching at that point in time will not be equated to the kind of selling we're talking about right now. Because the kind of selling we're talking about, the technique that matters, that you use to win, is called listening. Listening. And I know a lot of people, when they hear things like listening, they say things like, oh, listening. Okay, yes, listen to the prospect. Really? If you understand how listening works and the intricacies of what listening does to the prospect, you will see why we say that listening is the ultimate skill. When you listen to a prospect, you are humbling yourself to allow the prospect take charge of the conversation. Are you allowing him to take charge of the conversation? You're allowing him do the talking. You're allowing him do the talking. It means that you're trying to sell him. Now, in reality, the person who is asking questions is in charge, right? But at the point when you're being listened to, you feel like you're in charge of the conversation. Do you know that even when, using the example I used earlier, even when somebody says, I'm trying to pick a vendor, pitch to me why I should do business with you, are you aware that the person who most likely has done some research about the clients among the vendors, the person who has done some research about the clients and can start his or her pitch by letting the person know, by talking about the clients, and the client feels, you've already researched us, you are most likely to get a business, even if somebody gave a sweeter pitch. Just to show you that even when people are pitching versus when they are selling, you will notice something in common. The person who is being sold to needs to feel like they've been understood. So when you're pitching to someone and the person knows that, wow, you've done some research about me, credibility, trust, likability. When you're about to sell to somebody and the person feels like, you've actually listened to me, you've heard me out. Credibility, trust, likability. Have you seen cases where somebody is talking and the person is saying, just hear me out. I just want you to hear me out. Sometimes, once people know that they've been heard, that's enough for them. They're not really looking for someone who can tell them exactly what to do. In most cases, a lot of people actually believe they know what to do. Not like they may not actually know what to do, but they believe they know what to do. That's why if someone will go to a pharmacy and tell them, this is the drug I want, or to the hospital and say, this is the drug I want, because they believe that they know what they need. Ladies and gentlemen, our role is not to argue with the prospect and tell them they don't know what they need. Our role is to listen enough such that they trust us now and can decide to be humble enough to take our advice. And that's why you see, listening and hearing are not the same thing. Everybody was born with ears, but nobody was born with listening skills. Ladies and gentlemen, I've seen cases where we've done training programs for organizations, and I'm seeing someone who seems to be struggling with their sales. And all I can see during the session is the fact that based on the interactions that are happening, the person seems to always be the one to be talking. This means that when the person is in front of the prospect, most likely they want to be the one who is always doing the talking. Whether they are asking questions or whether they are talking about their products or whether they are talking about the product or service, because if you're asking questions, when you ask the person to respond. So they want to seem to be saying things. In fact, they find themselves interrupting the prospects. That can be the problem and can be one of the major reasons why some people are not selling. If you practice the sales techniques I'm going to show you right now, you will find out that your selling process becomes faster, it becomes sweeter, it becomes easier. And there are things that hinder people when it's time to sell. Let me just tell you about two things that will hinder people that hinder people from listening effectively. Number one, lack of product knowledge. Because they don't understand the products enough, they are not free within to give attention. So they say, but I've been listening, but you've been hearing. See, when you listen, there becomes a heart connection. When you listen, it is not about what the person is saying. You must understand that the brain looks for three things that are unique, simultaneous, and consistent. And because the brain is looking for things that are unique, simultaneous, and consistent, you'll find out that the moment you're listening to someone with rapt attention, you'll be able to pick signals from their body language, which is most important. You pick signals from their tone of voice. You can't pick signals from body language and tone of voice if you're not 100% present. The Bible says if the eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. You cannot pick body language and tone of voice if you're not fully present. And the things that could hinder you from not being fully present is because the product knowledge is not there. You don't really understand the product well enough. You don't really understand. Second thing, you don't really understand the industry well enough. So if you understand the products 100%, which is very possible, you understand the industry very well, at least to a basic degree, then when the person is talking, it means that you can suspend all thoughts and zero in and really hear for the tone. Really hear or really listen for the tone. Really listen for the body language. You're watching for the body language to see the signals and signs of what this person is really trying to say. Listening builds trust. People do business with you if they know you, if they like you, and if they trust you. And one of the ways you can show the prospect that, Mr. Prospect, you know me. Mr. Prospect, you like me. Mr. Prospect, you trust me, is when you listen to the prospects. So first of all, listening is a remarkable skill because it takes the pressure off you when you sell. If you ever feel pressure to sell at any point in time, it could be because you're not listening enough. The moment you're listening, the pressure is on the prospect to give a response. Listening keeps the attention of the prospect when you sell. So if you're trying to sell to someone who is distracted, you notice that every time you start talking, he's going off or he's picking his phone. Ask questions. Let him do the talking. As you are listening, you will get his attention. Number 3, listening helps you know exactly what to sell. Benefits of listening. It helps you know exactly what to sell. This way, you would have less objections, you will have less pushbacks, you will have less arguments. Why? Because the prospect, you are able to align what exactly you're offering versus what exactly the prospect needs. Selling is matching needs with solutions. This means that a solution must appear. Then I must match the need with the solution. I'm not trying to get you to accept my need, accept the product at all costs. No. I'm looking for the problem. A salesperson is a problem finder. And you can only find the problems by asking questions. And listening, of course, by listening rather. You can only find the problems by listening. Number 4, it saves you time. It saves you time. The time you would have spent back and forth at negotiating over price, pushing back, oh, it's so expensive, oh, I can't afford it, oh, all the objections, it saves you that time. Because when the person knows that you have listened, you have understood them, they will trust you and want to accept and believe your judgments. Number 5, it helps you build rapport. It helps you build rapport. Because when I listen to you, I'll be able to tell where you have similar interests with me. I'll be able to tell where you have similar backgrounds. I'll be able to tell where you have similar beliefs. And I'll just say, wow, oh, I actually lived in that area. Oh, I actually grew up there. Oh, I actually have 3 kids too. Oh, I'm actually from that state as well. You see, it's because I listened, I was able to get that information from you. Then finally, it helps you determine financial capacity. If I want to determine your financial capacity, I may not be able to determine your financial capacity by me talking. Part of me determining your financial capacity can be by my observations, right? But it's not enough. There are some aspects that can only be heard from you, and listening is what helps me track and determine your financial capacity. So let me tell you how you can be a great listener before I tell you effectively, before I give you some strategies for listening. You can become a great listener, and this is the ultimate skill. See, ladies and gentlemen, if you do these things, I'll give you a short story shortly about how we use these listening techniques to close sales. If you become, one of the ways you can become a great listener is by making sure that in everyday average conversations. What are average conversations? Conversations that you don't really have anything to gain or lose by not listening or listening, or by listening or not listening. You don't have anything to gain or lose. But you choose to prioritize the other person and letting the person know that you are valuable, you are loved, you are respected, and you listen to the person. Every time somebody is talking and you get on your phone, you're in your office with your colleagues, but when this person starts, you're in a meeting, and when somebody starts talking, then you look at your phone. You're trying to tell the person, you're not important to me. You're not valuable to me. Because if that person was your boss, you would probably be looking up. I know there are some bosses some people don't even look up. But, sometimes the culture of the organization can be funny. But in most cases, if the person is somebody who you respect and is important to you, you wouldn't take your phone and while the person is talking, you will look up. So you start to train yourself to be somebody who consciously, you keep quiet and you let the person start to talk. I learned this when I was in university. I came across a certain book on how to win and how to influence people. And in that material on how to influence people, I was shocked to realize that listening helps you influence people. If I want to influence you, selling is about influencing people to come to your side, to see things from your view. So if I want to influence you, one of the things I can do is I can listen to you. And if I listen to you, you most likely will be influenced by me. I used to think that if I could talk and give a strong point, a stronger and better argument, you'll be influenced by me. But no, it's the other way. If I make you the center of the conversation and I hear you out, you most likely, I most likely will be influencing you. So when I learned this, I made a conscious effort. Everybody I engaged, I allowed them to do the talking. And I consciously practice these 7 techniques I'll show you right now. Number 1, mental disposition. Mental disposition means my intention when I'm sitting with you is not to respond. No. There's product knowledge. I know it's in my heart, 100%. So whenever I'm ready to respond, the knowledge will come to me because I know it enough. And that's why I said, if you don't have enough product knowledge, it will be a hindrance to effective listening and a hindrance to selling. So my intention is not to reply. My intention is to understand. Seek first to understand. Then you'll be understood. Number 2, physical disposition. I want to sit and face you. I don't want to sit and face this way, but you're talking to me from this side. No. I want to sit and I'll face you. Number 3, I want to make sounds to show I'm listening. Number 4, I want to make sure that you finish. I don't want to interrupt you. Number 5, when you're done talking, I'll pause. Or rather, use this for number 5 first. Number 5, if there's anything I've misunderstood, I will ask questions for clarification. Because sometimes when a person is talking, there are things the person may say that you probably missed. So you want to make sure that you are carried along in this conversation. So you say, sorry, I missed you there. What are you trying to say? You say, I'm only interrupting you for questions for clarification. I'm not interrupting you to tell you how valuable my product is. Then number 6, when the person is done talking, you pause. Very powerful. Why is the pause necessary? It lets the person know that you've been listening. It lets the person know that you're trying to process what he has spoken about and you're about to give an intelligent answer. Then number 7, you paraphrase what the person has said and you reply. And where do you reply from? When you listening without taking notes is not listening. Because when you're listening, you're trying to understand the person. See, to understand requires documentation. On the word understand means stand on what you already know. This means that you have to make references to what you know and take certain notes. And as you're taking these notes, the person feels like, this person is listening to me. It's just that when you're taking notes, you shouldn't just take notes and look down. You want to take notes, look up. Then, from time to time, to be sure that the person knows that, hey, you're letting the person know that, hey, Mr. Prospect, I'm actually listening to you. Then, of course, with that, you find out you're able to listen effectively. I went in for a sales meeting. I'm closing with this story. I went in for a sales meeting. I get in for this meeting. And ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, when you go in for a sales meeting, right? Don't go in for a sales meeting and when you get there, there's some quietness, and what I mean is that you walk in and you're just quiet, waiting for the person to say something. No. When you get in, you immediately begin the conversation because you want to make sure that you're the one who is controlling the conversation by asking questions. Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Prospect. Thank you so much for having us. My name is, I work with, hope you don't mind, can I ask you a few questions that I normally would ask most of our prospects so that I can see how we can be of service to you. All right, you say, go ahead. Then you start to ask your questions and you start to listen, right? I went for a meeting and this prospect says, oh, sorry, I just have about 5 minutes to spare with you. And I said, oh, okay, no problem. I had enough time because I wanted this deal to be closed. When I got in, I said, I started by asking an open-ended questions. 2 types of questions you can ask, make your prospect listen to you. Closed-ended questions and open-ended questions. I started by asking open-ended questions. When I asked this open-ended question, these prospects, ladies and gentlemen, he said he just had 5 minutes. I've seen this happen so many times. He ended up talking to me for 45 minutes. The beautiful thing was, when he was done, he probably knew why I was there. So when he was done, he just said, okay, so Yuri, thank you so much for coming. We're going to do business with you. Send in your invoice. This is what we're going to do with you. Blah. I didn't even do any selling. All I did was to listen. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because listening builds trust. Listening is the ultimate closing technique. For most times, trust me, I've seen people who are not doing well in sales. Having trained over 23,000 salespeople across 5 countries. And when I see them struggling at any point in time, one of the key things I just show them, start to listen this way. And you start to hear wonders. People who didn't even have didn't have the extroverted personality that you think would be necessary to sell. People who you didn't think were very open to have conversations. These people, ladies and gentlemen, when they started practicing listening the way I've shown you today, their sales increased tremendously. So thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Please remember to like, remember to comment, remember to subscribe. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop your questions. And I'd like you to watch this next video because it's going to help you tremendously. Thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow.